Hi everyone, this is Rebecca at Better Bread, and I am here to demonstrate the use of our tools on Better Bread. Now, generally, I've shown people how to get to this page that I'm showing here, but I have decided in recent litters to start, or recent breeds, to start showing you this litter summary in case you don't have time to watch this video. So this is what you get to once you have gone through the breeding list and have simulated a breeding. So what are you looking at? So all of you have received your breed report, and your individual report on your dog reports the IR. That is this here. The IR on your dog tells you whether or not your dog is inbred in reference to your breed population. So if your dog has a very positive IR number, it is inbred. If it is a very negative IR number, it means that dog is outbred. This is just an inbreeding measurement. It does not place your dog in the population. It does not tell you if your dog has typical or atypical genetics for your breed population. But it does tell you whether your dog is inbred or outbred. Being inbred increases the likelihood of recessive component diseases expressing, whether we know what those diseases are or we do not know what those diseases are. So in this particular breeding, I was offered these two dogs. They are standard American Eskimo dogs, and it's important to note that in our database currently, miniatures and toys are separated from the standard American Eskimo dogs. And part of the reason behind this is when your breed was analyzed, the standard and the standards separated out genetically from the miniatures and toys. Okay, so when we look at this breeding, when you look at these breed summaries, you want to know, does this look like a good breeding or not? Well, the first thing we know is that it's category 4. On Better Bread, our categories go from 1, which would be identical twins, all the way to 10, which is unrelated in reference to the rest of the breed. Now, if you put your breed into a more diverse population, your dogs will seem much more related. So this is, again, in reference to your breed population. And as we know more about your breed population, we will know more information about how closely related dogs are to one another. However, at this point, with these two dogs, and if I butcher names, I'm sorry, I'm not the best at reading these. So between Thunderpass Basota's Shared Dreams and Thunderpass Crystal Times Daenerys, they are category 4. So in relation to the rest of the breed, this is equivalent to grandparent, grandchild, half-siblings, aunt, nephew, or uncle or niece. Now, I don't know how related these dogs are by pedigree, but this is what we are seeing genetically. So when you go over here and look at the inbreeding, what we want to look at is how many of the dogs are going to fall above 0.15. And you might ask, why 0.15? Well, when Dr. Peterson created this test, he clarified that anything above 0.15 is considered fairly inbred. So we have kind of set that as a benchmark of you want to try to avoid hitting above that if you want to lower your risk of recessive component diseases. So in this breeding, you can see a huge chunk. So if you imagine this as like percentages, this is a huge chunk of the litter is going to fall above 0.15, and a lot of the litter is going to fall above 0. So the more above 0, the more inbred you are. So I would say with doing this breeding, if you were considering it, what I would say is really you need to know your lines, know what diseases are in there, and realize that anything that you might not want to pop out that is a recessive component disease might pop out with something with a breeding this high. Now, I have done breedings that were category 6 with my own, but I know my lines pretty well, and so far it's been okay. But for me, generally, this would be a close breeding that I would likely opt not to do. But again, you have to know your own lines. So then we'll go here to the middle. So other than the category, here in the middle, it tells us what the DLA haplotypes are of the dogs. Now, ideally, you breed for heterozygous, meaning 2 different pairs. And you can see the dam's haplotypes and the sire's haplotypes here. So knowing just simple Mendelian genetics, I can tell that 50% of the puppies are going to be homozygous for these pairs. So these pairs always travel together. 2001 will always travel with 1002. That's what a haplotype is. And so the dam will give these two together. The sire will give these two or these two. And so it just depends on which one the puppies will get. And then the other 50% will be heterozygous for 2003 and 1012 and 2001 and 1002. So half the litter will be homozygous and half the litter will be heterozygous. So this is the last thing we generally consider when we are doing test breedings. We say to consider the DLA haplotypes last, but ideally you would breed for heterozygous puppies. Now we reach the outlier index. This is a proprietary measurement on our website, but essentially it's to place your dog in the population. So does your dog carry well-represented genetics for your population, or does your dog have less well-represented genetics for the population? And this litter average is at 0.27. We will go after this and look at the breed page, but what we advise doing is to try to get your average OI, outlier index, to be higher. The higher the outlier index is for the average and for dogs, the better distributed, or the better you are helping redistribute genetics in your population. So what I would say, and we'll go look, is let's try to get the average to be at or above your breed average for outlier index. That helps keep less well-represented genetics in the population, or helps us redistribute them when there's a bottleneck. And in standard American Eskimos, there is a genetic bottleneck in the breed, so that is something we would want to mitigate. So as you can see, puppies will range from having a lot of very well-represented genetics in the population to really not well represented in the population genetics. But usually the puppies are going to kind of fall into this area here where they're most likely to fall. Now, I have tested several full litters of 10 to 12 puppies, and I have found that my puppies fall all along this range. So be prepared when you do a breeding that you could have a puppy all the way up here in terms of the inbreeding. I had one last time where it was almost unheard of. I had a puppy fall at the very top of this curve in terms of her inbreeding. And by the way, she was the one I kept. But you have to know that this will happen, and this will happen. So very well represented for the population genetics can be produced as well. So just note that you can get your range, this whole range here. So we also advise testing puppies so you know what you're keeping, because if you're keeping puppies down with this low OI here, you are breeding towards a genetic bottleneck in your breed. Okay, so moving on to other things I generally show when I'm doing these test breedings. Let's go to the American Eskimo Dog Standard page. So this is going to show us the breed averages for your breed. It's going to show you the most recently uploaded dogs. It'll even show you as time goes on. So we have history, breed standard. We haven't really done much with these yet. We've got the link to the breed standard, health issues that you've had. But this is something that's really interesting. As time goes on, the more dogs that are tested, you guys will see how your population is changing. And even here, with the few dogs we've had tested, we're seeing dogs are becoming more inbred. So that's what this red line is showing, that dogs are becoming more inbred. And your OI, it's kind of like the pulse of a breed, whether or not there's a bottleneck. As that number lowers, it means you're breeding towards a genetic bottleneck. And when you're breeding towards a genetic bottleneck, you lose your genetic variability. So the whole point of this is to assess the diversity of a breed. And as this number lowers, then your breed is breeding towards a genetic bottleneck, which will lead to depletion of your genetic variability. You can also see what DLA haplotypes exist in the breed and at what frequency are they being found, which is really useful if you are interested in trying to improve or increase that. You can also see all the public dogs. So here's all the public dogs in the database. So you probably wondered how I got to where I was, and how I got the test breeding. So here is the male that was offered to be used. So I click on that and it's going to take me to his profile. Now you also note that even for our public memberships, the free memberships, you can add a photo here. You can add health testing information, temperament, appearance, and well, obviously in your breed, they're going to all look the same. But you can add temperament, you can add titles, location, all those things you can add. Okay, but here's our genetic analysis for this individual dog. So we do individual dog analysis, and we also predict what to expect in your litter. So here's the male, who's an older male. His outlier index is here. You can see compared to the breed average, he is above breed average, which means he carries either more neutral markers, which means that they're not heavily favored. They're exactly where they should be in terms of frequency, or less typical genetics. So he's slightly less typical for the population than the average dog. And you can see here's the trend for the breed is trending towards a lower OI. So we're heading in the wrong direction. And the analysis at UC Davis said, there's not a lot of biodiversity that's being found thus far in the breed. And it's also found that the standards are more inbred and have more of a bottleneck than the miniatures and toys do. And we've seen that in a number of breeds. Larger varieties seem to have more bottlenecks than the littler ones do. Okay, so outlier index, again, that is the how representative the genetics or the markers that have been tested are for the breed. So he is less typical for the breed than typical. Now, AGR, this tells us how related your dog is to other dogs in the database. The more negative, so outlier index is the only number we want to be higher than breed average. Here, we're seeing that this dog is slightly more related to other dogs in our database than the average dog. And this could be because the breeder may have tested more of her own dogs in the data. So more of her dogs are in our database than other breeders. So of course it's going to be more related to other dogs in the database because there's more dogs tested. So usually outlier index and average genetic relatedness are inversely proportional, with the exception of when a breeder has several of their dogs in our database, and then it will be more related, obviously. Okay, internal relatedness. This dog is very outbred, which means that its parents were unrelated from one another, or it means that this dog just happened to receive genetics markers from its parents that were different from one another. Comparing it to the other standard American Eskimos in the database, you can see that he is very outbred, whereas the average is trending towards more inbred. So that is what that means. And homozygosity by loci, this is another inbreeding estimate. 0.3 is pretty average for all purebred dogs. So, but you can see the rest of the breed is much more inbred. So you can see he's mellow here. No health testing information's been added yet. He's white, height 16, 32 pounds. And if you would add a picture, it would show there. All right, so for our premium members, this is what you can have on your dashboard. So if you're a premium member, you have access to potential breedings lists, which will show you all the dogs in the database. Plus, you can also look at genetic relationships, which is kind of a cool thing to look at because if you're trying, say you want to keep a puppy from him, and there's another relative that you do not like in the pedigree, you can look at the influences of that dog in relation to the puppy you're trying to keep. So you can see how closely related every single dog in the database is to this dog and whether they're male or female, which can be useful. Okay, so moving on to the breeding list. Sorry, not used to talking this much. All right, so you can see here all the dogs that are unrelated to this male. I noticed down here, somewhere here, there is another I thought there was Thunderpass. Oh, okay, maybe that was for the female. So the female had another Thunderpass that was unrelated. Let's see here. Category 4. Okay, so you can see here. So we go through these categories. As I said before, they range from category 10, which is unrelated, all the way to twins. Category 2 will be parents and offspring, and so on and so forth. So here we can see the bitch that was offered to be used is Daenerys here. And so if I was going to run a test breeding, I would click breed. And then you have to wait a little while because the system is simulating 3,000 puppies. And then once that says done, it'll say whelping when you push it. See whelping. Then when it says done, you'll push summary. And that will pull up the original kind of printout thing that I had showed you before. So let's go look at Daenerys now. And I will show you guys the free tool that the website offers. And then I will probably make a miniature and toy breeding in a separate post once I have some more dogs that people have offered me to use. Okay, so again, here's the litter summary. So we did that summary of the test breeding. You can see it's actually changed a little bit because I simulated 3,000 puppies again. I think it may have changed a little bit. So each time you push the summary button, it will create 3,000 new puppies. So that is that. So there, let's go to Daenerys, and I want to show you her our free tool for all public members. So I can search the other Thunderpass dogs, and you can see. And I wanted to note that this dog, Thunderpass, Thunderbolt, was unrelated. I noticed that in her breeding list, which was interesting, and I was wondering if, oops, so you can see, oh, nope, this one's category 5. Must have been a different Thunderpass. Anyway, I'll pull up the one that was suggested. So well, you can do this for free to see how dogs compare with one another. And it's searching the database and it can take a while. And when you're entering these, make sure that you just put what you just one word or whatever you think will pull up. If you type too much and you type something wrong, it won't pull up the dog. So I always just put the kennel name. So you can see here, it tells you that they're category 4. And then it gives you the AGR of both dogs, health test results if they're posted, the DLA haplotypes of both, the inbreeding of both, but it does not tell you the litter inbreeding because we have to calculate that. The alleles, so it tells you where these dogs fall in relation to the breed average. So again, our my phone's buzzing. So our actual litter simulations are a lot more detailed, but you can kind of get an idea. And a lot of people, even our premium members, use that comparison tool to kind of get an idea where a dog they might want to breed to would fall. And then they go run and simulate the breeding. So you can go up here to dog search and go to test breedings, and you can enter in the dog's names that you want to use there directly. So I knew both were Thunderpass. So again, I just put or Thunderpaws. I'm not sure if it's Thunderpaws or Thunderpass. I'm sorry. So here, again, just put the kennel name, and I'll do the same here. Then it'll search the database. Okay, and then I can push submit. So this is another way you can do test breedings on our website. So again, all public members can add one photo to their dogs, and they can also add health testing information, title information, and our premium members get 5 photos, and for some breeds, we even have health certificate upload, so you can upload your images of proof of health testing to our website. Okay, so here we can see this is another way to breed 2 dogs. So if you know for sure you're interested in breeding 2 dogs together and you have a premium membership, you would just go to the test breeding, click that, and then enter in the sire and dam, and then you make sure you click push to breed. A lot of people forget that. And then once that says done, you can go to litter summary. Now the analysis is much more detailed. That gives us so much more information about what to expect in the puppies, and it's very detailed to go through. But the nice thing about this page is that it explains what things mean. So a lot of this will explain. So here you can see 25% chance of these different inheritance for each puppy. So again, remember I said 50% chance here, and then 50% chance of being heterozygous. So here, half are heterozygous, half are homozygous. So it tells you that the inbreeding of the puppies, of the sire and dam, and then it gives you the litter averages and what you can expect. So how inbred, how homozygous, how their HL, how high, and their internal relatedness. So this tells you the parents, their AGR, alleles, how their outlier index will look, and then there's some other more detailed things down here. So remember I had said that sometimes there's neutral markers and sometimes there's atypical or unusual ancestry versus typical ancestry. So this kind of tells you how much the puppies will be. So the male is much less is much more atypical for the breed than the female is. So basically the puppies will then have his unusual genetics will be cut in half. So anyway, that is the detail of our website, all the cool things that you can do. I will be making another test breeding video here shortly for miniatures and toys. But on our front page, you can see we've got our introductory course here that you can click on and add it to your account. This will explain all the values that I talked about today because it's a lot of information. Our website offers a lot of different ways to look at litters and what you're doing. So this course is designed to walk you through it and how to use it. And there are a lot of the videos I've posted in your Facebook group too. If you don't have an account already, you can get it here. And of course, your breed's already enrolled. Here on the front page, you can also see the most recent uploaded dogs in the database. So check out your breed page. Look at all the information on there. We've also got tons of information in our blog for free to read about how to use our resources. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thanks for watching.